Hello, I'm Chuck Fulp with South Alabama Home Inspections, and welcome to a possible edition of Southern Home Talk. I'm not so sure I'm going to get lucky enough for this to work out in my favor, but basically what I have here is a destroyed sidewalk from Hurricane Sally, and I put some 57 limestone to kind of fill some of that bottom gap there so I don't have to use so many sacks of concrete to bridge the span between the two. But anyway, it really heaved the sidewalk back there toward the steps, as you can see, and that's why I have a little 2-ton jack there, and I've lifted up that left corner, and because the right corner was raised way up in the air, and I kind of thought I was going to have to haul this part off, but it looks like I might be getting lucky and I may not have to do that. And so what I did is I just took a water hose and basically blasted as much as I could up underneath this thing and blasted up through the crevice right there to kind of soften this up and move it out of the way. And it looks like that may have worked because it's pretty much level all the way across now where it wasn't before. And I'll probably use some hydraulic cement to fill that gap. And so anyway, I guess what I'm gonna have to do at this point is find a way to block this up so I can get my jack out. And of course I'll probably use some more of that limestone too to support this, you know, when I take this jack out as well. So we'll just have to see how this goes. Maybe I'll continue getting lucky with this. I'll probably put some follow-up pictures on the Facebook page since you're not able to really do that with YouTube. So wish me luck, guys. Hopefully this will work out. Okay, well, I guess we can call this the mid result. So I mean, it's about as level as I think I'm going to be able to get it, and that's not too bad. I can fill that in. And so what I did was I pulled the jack out from under it, and that was a wedge I used right there. I used a brick and parts of those little patio stones, and then I just pretty much tucked all this limestone up underneath it, and I poured it between these two spans. That way I don't have to pour so much concrete whenever I do decide to get this span connected together. So I guess now it's just a matter of whether or not I want to mix this myself or call someone out here to finish this out. So we'll just have to see how it works out, guys. All right, guys, here we are at this other part of this. I have a concrete truck that hopefully will show up here in the next 10 or 15 minutes. I've got the stage set for it. It's actually pretty damn cold this morning. I think it's like 30 something degrees, but I'd much rather be doing this in 30-degree weather than 100-degree, that's for sure. And also certainly that would be the case if I was having to mix this up with sack concrete. Now, just to give you an example, this would have taken 14 80-pound bags to cover a 3-foot by 8-foot area by 4 inches thick. But believe it or not, that comes out to 1,120 pounds of concrete. That's quite a bit when you look at it in that perspective. Now, the concrete was going to cost me, what it's costing me to get it poured here today is $390 delivered. That's for 1 yard. It's really only going to require a half yard, but that's the least they'll deliver is 1 yard. So I'm going to have some left over, and as a result I removed a lot of that gravel out of there, because why not go ahead and use it if it's I'm having to pay for it. Now what I did is I took some old 1x4s and used this for the framing for it. Fortunately those tent stakes had a hole drilled in it, so I could kind of screw this and kind of brace it, and also use some of that block there as well to kind of lean against it so it don't flip over when they start pouring this in there. Like I say, it's 1,120 pounds. So, you know, I guess the bottom line of this, if you have the energy to do this, I mean, by all means do. It's 14 bags of 80 pounds, and it's about $5.30 a bag, so it'd be less than $100 to do it that way. It's probably going to take you half a day or more to mix it all up, but just know that you can go and rent these portable concrete mixers at some of your rental centers, and that may help as well as far as the labor that's involved in doing this as well. So you're probably going to need a rake, a shovel, a hoe, and a water hose, and maybe a wheelbarrow and a bucket of water for this project as well. So stay tuned, guys. Hopefully the concrete truck will show up here before too long. That's going to do it, guys. Yeah, there's the water hose right there. What's that? To about empty the rest of the concrete? Yeah, let's rinse it right here. Just stay right there. You want to get that over there? Good. All right, well, the concrete truck is gone, and they poured me probably a little more than a half yard of concrete here, because it's about 6 and 7 inches thick in some areas. But why not utilize it all? Paid for yard, so why not get as much as I can? That's what I did. So you're looking at $390 worth of concrete, and didn't save any money, but I certainly saved my back and probably more than a day's worth of work mixing it up. And I don't have any professional floating tools, which would have been nice to have had. But one thing you can do, and this is what I've done, is just take the backside of a flat shovel and make sure it's wet. And you can just kind of sort of, as it dries, just kind of go over it with that right there, you know, keeping it level. Now if you have someone to help you, you can actually take a long piece of 2x4 or just a board like that and have one person get on the other side and one on the other and just drag it across, and that'll help level it as well. But I'm by myself today, so it's just gonna have to be me doing this. It's turned out pretty good. I mean, it's not gonna match up with the old sidewalk that was here because it's so old, and this sidewalk was poured in the 60s. So when this dries, it's going to pretty much dry the color you see right there. Now if you're OCD about things matching up, well, you can go and get concrete stains, and you can stain your entire sidewalk, and that will get it to match. Now another thing too, I did an episode on siloxane a couple of days ago that's on this channel. And you can also use that product on sidewalks too. Any concrete or brick or masonry that will work on it. It will make this water repellent. Probably not going to do that. I may wind up having to stain this, though. I probably want this to match to some degree. Now another thing I will do as well is, you see that rake right there. As this gets a little bit more drier, I'm going to start scoring the top of this, and it'll make it where you can have more traction on this and less of a slip hazard. You really don't want this too slick. But another thing too, if you put these channels in there, it'll make it easier to blow off with a leaf blower. And so basically, you know, this turned out pretty good. You know, it's not by no means to the pro standards of a professional concrete contractor, you know, but this is just a sidewalk. And like I say, sometimes it's good to step out on a limb and try things you never tried before. And you can go and look at other YouTube videos on how to do this. And another thing I did have to do too was I had another area down here that needed to be jacked up as well. It's amazing how that 2-ton jack came in handy. And so I had to lift this section. I got it blocked with a piece of stone right there. And I had to do that while this was wet, otherwise it'd have cracked it down there. So anyway, that hurricane really created a mess, and unfortunately it's cost me some money to get all this stuff repaired. But I think I'm pretty much on the tail end of this now. Now I probably will use hydraulic cement to fill these voids on both this side and the side down there. You can actually buy that in buckets too. It doesn't have to be hydraulic cement either. You can just get Quikrete in a bucket up at your local hardware store. I just so happen to have some of that on hand, and that's what I'm going to use to put in these cracks to fill those voids. Well, thanks for taking the time to watch this, and just stay tuned to the next episode. I'm sure I'll have one coming up pretty soon. Take care, guys.